We would like a national commission to be formed to study all forms of white supremacy. We think there should be a joint law enforcement civilian task force to study white nationalism and to outline an organized counterinsurgency strategy. We don't like the notion of the lone wolf narrative. We think there's an organized white nationalist group around the world that is being connected. We think there should be humane immigration policy. One thing I think we need to talk about is that right now there are Latino children in cages. We think this is a definite manifestation of white supremacy and white nationalism.
Thank you very much.
Well, it is our view that this black identity extremist designation is false. This was something created by the FBI's domestic terrorism analyst units to essentially target black activists today who are focused on issues like promoting police accountability. It's time for us to get more information about the scope of their activities, who they're investigating. But most importantly, it's important that we find out why they're diverting resources away from the real threat that drives the purpose of this hearing today, white supremacy and white nationalism.
What these do, what so many of these white extremists are lone wolves. They're not part of like a hate group. They don't go out to their neighborhood like decades ago to find the local Ku Klux Klan.
And we should understand, we should really study why is it that one half of the world's Muslims have anti-Semitic views. This is ADL's own survey. It's not my survey. Why are 1/3 of American Muslims have anti-Semitic views? Is it a coincidence that 2 of the 3 freshmen who have made anti-Semitic remarks happen to be of that faith? And these people, by the way, never condemn the Palestinian Authority, never condemn other outrageous entities that promote hatred. The Palestinian Authority pays Arabs to murder Jews. They name schools, streets, and sports teams after Jew killers. They incite hatred against Jews in their schools, in their media, in their sermons and speeches, and you never see these BDS people condemning this really vicious human rights abusing entity, making it clear this is all about Jews, it's all about anti-Semitism.
Convening this hearing, and regret that there are some on this panel who have tried to hijack this hearing and desecrate the lives lost to the hate crimes and violence of white supremacists by attempting to use this as an opportunity to promote a political position or a political party. And I think that is despicable and deeply regrettable.
I completely agree with you. There are 2 things that we need from our leaders. One, we need what they say. And when they dehumanize and demonize refugees or Muslims or anybody else from a marginalized community, that's a problem. And the other is policies, what they do. And when you have anti-Muslim bans and anti-immigration and refugee stuff, this gives embrace and emboldens white supremacists.
And I would just encourage you, in the name of eliminating hate, it helps if you don't misquote or mischaracterize statements of the president. He never said asylum seekers are animals.
I'm proud also that I'm a member of the House of Representatives that adopted the most comprehensive and forceful denunciation of anti-Semitism in the history of the U.S. Congress on March 7th, 2019. One of our colleagues has repeated the talking point that somehow this was a watered-down resolution.
Why the minority called some witnesses who have, in fact, actually traded in just this. Wondered why the minority invited witnesses that clearly have some very controversial pieces in their background, including one who was seen to be the biggest influence on the white supremacist who slaughtered 49 worshipers.
Thank you, Congressman. We used a series of both artificial intelligence and human reviewers to do what we would call proactive sweeping for that type of content. We use signals from our community, user reports, to help us really hone in onto what may be white nationalist or white separatist behavior. If we do find known white nationalists or known white separatists or people who are affiliated with hate organizations, we actually have a process where we conduct what we call a fan out. And a fan out is to look at that person's connections to ensure that we are trying to get to the root of those networks and to remove them from the platform.
Fast forward to 2008. America elects a black president. Unfortunately, this proves very unsettling to many people who have felt superior to black people when there's a black president and a black family in the White House. In 2015, Donald Trump began his campaign by calling Mexicans rapists. He He called for a Muslim ban. When white supremacists marched in Charlottesville chanting, "Jews will not replace us," and "blood and soil," which is straight from the Nazi playbook, Mr. Trump said there are good people on both sides. He recently called asylum seekers animals.
The Tree of Life synagogue murderer was a neo-Nazi who hated white President Trump for not being anti-Semitic, called Jews in the Trump administration a kike infestation. The New Zealand mosque murderer was actually a left-wing, self-described eco-fascist who also published a manifesto praising communist China as the, quote, nation with the closest political and social values to my own. By contrast, we receive hundreds of calls from students about anti-Semitic harassment, discrimination, and intimidation perpetrated by the left-wing, significantly Muslim hate group Students for Justice in Palestine, SJP, and its allies. That at these SJP rallies, it is common for SJP demonstrators calling for Israel's elimination, screaming Jews out of their campuses, Jews are racist sons of bitches, forgive me. When we take control of this campus, we're going to kick you out and make sure you don't graduate. Get out of America, long live the Intifada.
Eileen Hershinov is the Senior Vice President of Policy for the Anti-Defamation League. Prior to joining the ADL, she served as General Counsel and Head of Public Policy for the Wikimedia Foundation. She earned her BA from Yale College and her JD from Yale Law School. Dr. Mohammed Abu Salha is a medical professional from North Carolina. Before moving to the United States, he worked as a general practitioner in Iraq, Kuwait, and Jordan. Dr. Abu Salha attended Eastern Virginia Medical School for a degree in psychiatry and his residency. Eva Patterson is the president and co-founder of the Equal Justice Society. Her long career of anti-discrimination work includes 26 years with the Lawyers Committee for Civil Rights, 13 of them as executive director, co-founding and chairing the California Civil Rights Coalition for 18 years, and serving as the vice president of the ACLU National Board for 8 years. She received her JD from UC Berkeley's School of Law. Neil Potts currently serves as the public policy director for Facebook, who oversees the development and implementation of Facebook's community standards. Mr. Potts graduated from the United States Naval Academy and the University of Virginia Law School. Prior to joining Facebook, he worked as a ground intelligence officer in the U.S. Marine Corps. Alexandria Walden is a public policy and government relations counsel for Google. She also represents Google at the Global Network Initiative. Prior to joining Google, Ms. Walden has worked at the Rabin Group, the Center for American Progress, and the Now Legal Defense and Education Fund. Mort Klein is National President of the Zionist Organization of America. He has served as a lecturer at Temple University and as a biostatistician at UCLA School of Public Health and the Linus Pauling Institute of Science and Medicine. Candace Owens is an American commentator and political activist. She currently serves as the Director of Communications for the advocacy group Turning Point USA. Kristen Clark currently serves as the President and Executive Director of the National Lawyers Committee for Civil Rights. Previously, she has worked with the NAACP Legal Defense and Education Fund and at the U.S. Department of Justice in the Civil Rights Division. She earned her AB from Harvard and her JD from Columbia Law School, which is in my district.
Am I the reason you get stoned every week now? Build up integrity, got you texting, emailing me, wanting me to feel with you. Baby, just face reality, move on. Sometimes it's hard to face reality.